The bright sun shines on the streets of Konoha. With a light sniff, the tip of the nose is filled with fresh air. The whole person feels refreshed. Start a new day with a new spirit. Let's work harder today. Hinata cheered herself up in a low voice. Hinata is having a great time these days. A while ago, Naruto took care of the Hyuga family and shocked all the Hyuga people with his unique understanding of the gentle fist method. Since then, Hinata has not been displeased by his father Hyuga Hiashi. Because under Naruto's personal teaching, Hinata's gentle fist method can be described as advancing by leaps and bounds, which is enough to perform 12 supports. Now even Hyuga Hiashi can barely reach 128 palms. Now Hyuga Hiashi naturally has no face to challenge Hinata's dissatisfaction. And not only that. After seeing Hinata's appetite, which can be called the ultimate king of appetite, Hyuga Hiashi couldn't help but think deeply, is it because he didn't feed his daughter enough, so the talent shown by his daughter Hinata is so poor? Otherwise Hyuga Hiashi couldn't explain why Hinata's progress was so fast after eating a full meal. Then. Now Hinata can eat every meal. Even if she eats enough to serve dozens of people, Hyuga's family has a big business and can fully support a big eater like Hinata. 300. But a few more will not work. Being able to eat and drink enough every day makes Hinata very happy every day. The practice has also become very hard. Not only has the gentle fist method advanced by leaps and bounds, but she has not lagged behind in other ninjutsu taught by Naruto. Hinata couldn't help but see Naruto's image in his mind. Glittering blonde hair, a bright handsome smile. Tall and straight, with a soft and haughty voice. This is the figure of Naruto left in her mind. Although there is not much difference from the reality, the filter in my mind becomes more and more gorgeous after a few days of disappearing. I don't know what Naruto is up to lately, I haven't seen him for several days. Hinata naturally didn't know what Naruto was up to recently. Apart from being busy practicing new ninjutsu, Naruto is only worried about Uchiha. Now the matter of the Uchiha family has come to an end. The night of genocide was successfully avoided, and he also laid the foreshadowing in Uchiha to control Uchiha in the future. Thinking of Naruto, Hinata blushed involuntarily. How about I go see Naruto? Just thinking about it, Hinata's face continued to heat up, and soon became as rosy as a boiled crab. Despite her shyness, Hinata couldn't bear the desire to see Naruto. Hinata still followed the desire in her heart and walked towards Naruto's house. Will Naruto-kun not welcome me? What if Naruto-kun is not at home? What should I do if there is a visitor at Naruto-kun's house? Naruto-kun. Hinata kept thinking wildly. This situation becomes more and more serious as it gets closer to Naruto's home. Hinata also felt a little panic in his heart. She didn't know why, but her heartbeat became faster and faster. Obviously. Going to meet Naruto alone is a very bold act for Hinata. As a result, Hinata's body had a conditioned rejection reaction. Hinata is just too shy. But soon, the panic disappeared when Hinata looked up and saw Naruto's house. That's it, Naruto-kun. Hinata was stunned. It's beyond Hinata's expectations. Naruto is at home, and doesn't appear to have any guests. Hinata could see that Naruto seemed to be busy with something. Also, from Hinata's side, Naruto seems to have grown a lot taller. With a hint of doubt, and a hint of curiosity, Hinata walked over. Then, Hinata saw that Naruto was riding another Naruto to wipe the door at the moment. Body. Hinata was stunned, and then more puzzled. Is this cleaning up? Naruto heard Hinata's voice, and looked back with the clone. It's Hinata, good morning, do you have anything to do with me? Naruto kept moving his hands and greeted Hinata with a smile. Hinata's face suddenly became rosy involuntarily, she lowered her head slightly and said. Well, Naruto-kun, good morning. Then she mustered up the courage to ask. What are you doing, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked at the rag in his hand and said inexplicably. Of course it's cleaning, can't you see it? Hinata blushed even more embarrassingly. How did I ask such an obvious thing? Hinata quickly asked the next question to ease the embarrassment at this time. Is today a special day for Mr. Naruto, or Mr. Naruto's daily cleaning? Or I'll come and help, Naruto said with a smile. Basically, I'm done with my work, so there's no need to help. As for the special day, isn't it the new year, so prepare in advance. With Hinata's cute crooked head, a big question mark appeared above her head. New Year's Eve? Naruto nodded. Yes, New Year's Eve. Hinata's small face was full of big doubts, but isn't it too early to prepare for the new year? It's only the beginning of December, and there's still 1.5 months before the new year. Naruto said with a frown. What do you mean there is 1.5 months left? It should be 1.5 months left. Celebrating the new year is an annual event, how can you be so sloppy? If I hadn't been busy some time ago, otherwise I would have to prepare 2 months in advance. It's too late for me now. Hinata was completely dumbfounded. Is this so? Hinata answered blankly. The thoughts in her head were as messy as a cat's thread. Does the new year have to be so grand? Why didn't I feel it at home before? Could it be that because of my identity, I don't need to participate in things like cleaning, so I don't know? Should I also go home and get ready? Hinata's small head was filled with big questions. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 100 involution points. Naruto ignored Hinata and continued with the finishing touches to the cleaning. And there are many things waiting for him to do. But there was no time to waste anymore, not long after. The Ino Shika Cho trio came together in a rare way. Although the alliance of the three families is very strong, the relationship between the elders and younger generations of the family is very good. But Ino is a girl no matter what, and usually plays with girls more. The three of them got together today because their elders got together and brought them with them along the way. It's been a long time since the three of us were together like this. Choji couldn't help but sigh with emotion. I don't know when Ino stopped playing with us. Shikamaru couldn't help but rolled his eyes. Idiot, Ino is a girl, of course she plays with girls. And if you play with girls and they see you, you will definitely be laughed at. When Ino heard this, he was dissatisfied immediately. What do you mean? Does playing with me make you feel ashamed? Believe it or not, I'll beat you up. As she spoke, she raised her small fist. Choji immediately shrank behind Shikamaru, regardless of whether Shikamaru could hold back his huge body. Ino saw Choji's reaction, and said with a cold snort. My lady has a lot, so I don't care about your unfriendly speeches. By the way, Shikamaru, you have a good head. Do you know why Dad and the others gathered this time? Shikamaru put his hands on the back of his head and said. Although I don't know the specific request, it must be related to the Uchiha family. Ino and Choji were taken aback for a moment. Eh? Shikamaru pursed his lips and said. See, those two guards. The two looked along the square Shikamaru pointed to, and saw two members wearing security uniforms. What's wrong with them? Choji asked curiously. Ino also turned to look at Shikamaru. Didn't you see that their faces have softened a lot? When I saw the guards before, all of them looked bitter, and sometimes even looked at the villagers who were making trouble, and they would show hatred. But now they've become a lot more friendly, so I presume it's something to do with the Uchiha clan. Choji suddenly exclaimed. Shikamaru, you are amazing. Ino stared with a pair of dead fish eyes. Choji, don't listen to his bragging. He certainly can't draw such a conclusion based on this observation alone, and he is so sure. Shikamaru laughed instantly. You know me pretty well. Yes, I actually overheard some words, and it seems that something big has happened to the Uchiha clan. Then, Shikamaru's face became depressed. But looking at now, it must have been deliberately let me here by my father, just to let me observe the situation of those Uchihas in the class. What a cunning sir. Ino folded his arms across his chest immediately. I'll just say it. Then she immediately asked curiously. So, what happened to the Uchiha clan? Shikamaru hesitated for a moment, and then revealed a secret that wasn't exactly a secret. A member of the Uchiha family launched a rebellion, but his actions have been stopped, and now he has become a traitor and is wanted. Ah! Ino exclaimed, eyes widening. Such a thing happened. Why didn't I notice it at all? Shikamaru rolled his eyes, and said to himself that you are so focused on comparing with little Sakura, why would you pay attention to other things? Huh? Is that Naruto? Choji's puzzled voice caught the attention of both of them. Is it Naruto-kun? Where is it? Ino immediately pushed Choji away, looking excitedly. Soon he found the target and rushed over. Naruto-kun. Shikamaru helplessly pulled up the fallen Choji, shook his head and said. Women are indeed the biggest trouble. Dad's words are indeed correct. Come on. Let's go and have a look, Shikamaru said helplessly. And his intuition told him that something about Uchiha must have something to do with Naruto. There is no reason, just pure intuition. Although for an intellectual like Shikamaru, it is not a good thing to trust intuition too much. But the occasional intuition of this kind of rootless intuition often points directly to the truth of the matter. Of course, I don't intend to explore the depth of it. After all, Shikamaru is a very shy guy. Naturally, it is impossible to make trouble for yourself. The two came slowly, and before they got close, they heard Yi chattering endlessly. Mr. Naruto has not come to teach us for a long time. What the hell is Naruto-kun up to lately? By the way, my evasion technique has improved a lot, Naruto-kun. Would you like to check it? There are also other ninjutsu that have made great progress. Let's go to the practice field now, and let you see my latest results. Naruto just listened with a smile, without any impatience for being disturbed. Hey, it's been a while, Naruto, what have you been up to lately? Shikamaru said hello. Then he saw Naruto carrying 2 big bags in his hand. It's the smell of food. Choji moved his nose, and immediately moved to the side of the big bag that Naruto was holding. This scent is melon seeds, and it's melon seeds that have just been stir-fried. And over here, it's peanuts. Ino stared with a pair of dead fish eyes, fixedly staring at the 2 electric 08 bulbs that disturbed her and Naruto alone, exuding strong dissatisfaction from her whole body. When Shikamaru heard this, he looked up and saw that this was a shop selling this kind of nut snacks, and he immediately smiled. Gwazi Peanut, do you have something good to celebrate? It's really not interesting. You want to celebrate. Why don't you call us? Although Shikamaru is afraid of trouble, celebrating such things is not trouble. Naruto shook his head with a smile, then pointed to the nearby shop. The 3 looked in the direction Naruto pointed, and saw another Naruto coming out of a shop. It's a clone. When Naruto's avatar came out, he was holding a pair of couplets in his hand. This? Shikamaru asked curiously. Could it be that your meatball shop is about to expand? For a while, Shikamaru couldn't think of other possible couplets. Naruto's meatballs are super delicious. Choji broke out suddenly, and the corner of his mouth dripped all over the floor. Choji gulped at the thought of those meatballs in various flavors. Ino also clapped his hands repeatedly. Congratulations to Naruto-san. Let me just say, with Naruto-san's skills, it's too much talent to open only one store. We should open more restaurants so that everyone can taste the meatballs made by Mr. Naruto. Not to mention cheap, there are dozens of flavors to choose from. Where can I find such a suitable meatball shop? Naruto couldn't help correcting it. Now the flavor has been upgraded to 387, and it is still being updated. But I'm not going to open a store, the couplets are for preparing for the new year. Ino covered her mouth and exclaimed. So many mouths, wait, Naruto-kun, what are you talking about? Her eyes widened, as did Shikamaru and Choji's. Shikamaru even clicked his ears. Did I hear wrong? Did you just say that you are preparing for the new year? Naruto nodded with a smile. You heard me right. The 3 looked at each other, not knowing what to say. There was great doubt on his face. Choji finally took back his thoughts on Maruko and asked. It's only the beginning of December, and there is still more than a month before the new year. As for making preparations so early. Naruto said seriously immediately. You are too careless. This is an annual festival. It means we have grown another year. Such a commemorative festival, of course we must prepare early. There is only 1.5 months left. Of course I have to prepare everything for the new year as soon as possible. Choji looked blank. Shikamaru was speechless, and Ino was dumbfounded. Naruto looked at the sky and passed the 3 of them with his things. Okay. I won't tell you more, I still have a lot of things to buy. The 3 of them turned their heads and watched as Naruto took a few avatars into the shops to carry out raids. My heart is full of great doubts. Is our idea wrong, or Naruto's idea wrong? Shikamaru said speechlessly. Of course it's our fault. Ino immediately refuted Shikamaru's words. Even though Shikamaru didn't question Naruto directly, Ino retorted reflexively. Naruto-kun is right. The new year is such an important festival. Our age will grow by 1 year, and the village will spend the new year in peace. The day when I can marry Naruto-kun is one step closer, so the new year is of course very important. It's decided, I'm going to start preparing for the new year too. After speaking, he immediately ran after Naruto. Shikamaru glared away at Ino, who had bad intentions, then shook his head and sighed again. Sure enough, women are the biggest trouble. Choji nodded repeatedly. The sun reached the highest point, illuminating the entire Konoha with almost no shadow. I didn't expect that Itachi would turn traitor. I had a high opinion of him. Kakashi shook his head regretfully. Asuma said with emotion after lighting a cigarette. It is said that one knows one's face but does not know one's heart, especially for us ninjas. Who would have thought that Itachi would betray Konoha, and even wanted to attack his own family? I really don't know what he's thinking. Kakashi shook his head. However, the relationship between the village and the guard seems to have eased a lot recently. It seems that there may indeed be people with ulterior motives who were sowing discord before. Is this also related to Itachi? Kakashi pinched his chin and thought. He always felt that this matter had nothing to do with Itachi. After all, the conflict between the guard and the villagers has been going on for a long time. Itachi was even just a child at that time. No matter what Kakashi thinks, Itachi doesn't think Itachi can grow back bones from such a young age. Forget it. Don't think so much. If you encounter Itachi at that time, remember to deal with it carefully. Since he dared to fight against the entire Uchiha alone, he must be very confident in his own strength. And he's Uchiha, don't forget that. One-on-one with Uchiha, run away. Asuma exhaled and said, of course I know. Let's not talk about that. Where are we going to eat today? This time it's your turn to treat. Kakashi thought about his poor wallet, and quickly decided on a cheap and affordable place. Let's go eat meatballs. The corner of Asuma's mouth twitched suddenly. A meatball shop in Naruto? Kakashi said as a matter of course. Of course, he doesn't have a second family anymore. Not to mention the price, it's even worse in terms of taste. There are new flavors on the market every day, so naturally we have to taste more. Asuma cried out in his heart. Is that why I don't want to eat meatballs? I don't want to eat meatballs made by Naruto. Asuma refuses intentionally, but they have come near Naruto's meatball shop unknowingly. Kakashi looked up and said with a smile. Exactly, we're at the place. This can save a lot of money. At that time, you can buy the latest girl by Gia. I believe it will be even more exciting. Hey. Kakashi brought the troubled Asuma to Naruto's shop with a big smile on his face. Then, he noticed that something seemed wrong. Why is there no one? Kakashi walked to the door with a puzzled look on his face. Although meatballs are not a staple food, they are snacks, or desserts after meals. But Naruto's meatballs have always been a hot business. The price is cheap and affordable, and the taste is rich and varied. It has almost become the first choice of dessert for everyone in Konoha. However, at noon, there was no one in the store. And looking at the appearance of the Naruto avatar who is in charge of opening the store, Kakashi suddenly had a premonition of 960 in his heart. What's going on? Isn't it open today? Kakashi asked anxiously. The clone looked up, looked at Kakashi and said. It's Teacher Kakashi, I'm sorry, it's closed today. Kakashi, this genin can't stand it anymore. It's about his wallet. Kakashi stepped forward and asked. What happened? Could it be that someone made a malicious complaint? Or was someone in the same business secretly making trouble? At the thought of shrinking his wallet significantly, various dark thoughts immediately appeared in Kakashi's mind. The clone looked at Kakashi suspiciously. Mr. Kakashi, what are you talking about? Where is there a pier in the whole Konoha? Kakashi was speechless. Really? The last meatball seller was so angry that you were hospitalized. Naturally, no one dares to compete with you for the meatball business. Kakashi is depressed, but Asuma is happy. Although Naruto's meatballs are really delicious. But meatballs are too cheap. Thinking of the yakiniku that Kakashi made him a treat before, Asuma felt a pain in his stomach. Asuma spent all of his small coffers trying to recreate a pair of chakra knives. It is also very tight on hand now. Now that I have the opportunity to have a good Kakashi meal, Asuma is naturally 100 happy. Okay. Since they don't open for business, they're going to pester them. It's not good for people to see. Asuma pulled the unwilling Kakashi with a smile on his face. Kakashi's feet made 2 deep dents in the ground. Then at least tell me, why is it closed today? The avatar carried the packed things on his shoulders and said. It's almost New Year's Eve, so the store is going to close early. Closed during Chinese New Year. The smile on Asuma's face froze, but turned into deep doubt. New Year's Eve? Kakashi was also taken aback. New Year's Eve. The two looked at each other, and both saw the blankness in the other's eyes. Kakashi looked at Asuma suspiciously. I remember, It should be the beginning of December now? Asuma nodded blankly. It was the same in his memory. The doubt on Kakashi's face deepened. Could it be that I fell asleep for a month without knowing it, and didn't feel the passage of time? A frightened look appeared on Kakashi's face. Then did I miss the latest version of the girl by Gia? Asuma's head was covered with black lines. Although the girl by Gia is indeed very exciting, but as Konoha's elite ninja, is this the only reaction you have when you realize that you may have wasted a while? Are you still worthy of your title of elite ninja? The name of copy ninja Kakashi is crying, Asuma complained. But in his heart, he was also seduced and thought of the content of the girl by Gia that he watched recently. I have to say, this book is really well written. Seeing the fuss of the two, Naruto's clone said with a smile. It is indeed the beginning of December, and your memory is not mistaken. Kakashi came back to his senses, his face returned to calm, with a trace of curiosity. Isn't there still more than a month before New Year's Eve? Why are you starting to prepare now? Speaking of this, the face of Naruto clone suddenly became serious. Mr. Kakashi, the New Year is the most important day of the year, and it contains many meanings. On such an important festival, of course we must give it the most important attention. If I hadn't been busy with other things some time ago, I wouldn't start preparing now. Okay. Stop talking, I'm going to cry. Saying that, Naruto's avatar pushed the two of them out of the shop, then closed the door with a snap, chained and locked it. Our store is temporarily closed during the festival. As for when the store will open, please wait for the announcement. After finishing speaking, the avatar left without looking back, leaving only the two of them messed up in the wind. Looking at the clone of Naruto that was getting further and further away, Asuma couldn't help but said. Is he kidding me? Is Naruto really starting to prepare for the new year now? Kakashi nodded in surprise. It does seem to be true. Now that's all right. Where should I find a cheap and delicious restaurant? Kakashi rubbed his forehead in distress. Asuma looked at him speechlessly. Can't you honestly treat me to a barbecue? Just take it as your New Year's gift to me. Kakashi looked up suddenly and said, that essay deal. By the way, my New Year's gift has been decided. I hope to get a complete set of Maiden by G in new packaging in the new year. Okay. Once a big man says something, it's hard to follow. Let's hurry to eat barbecue. How about just going to the yakiniku restaurant that Akamichi's family owns? Saying that, Kakashi dragged Asuma away without any explanation. I'm afraid that Asuma will regret it. In fact, Asuma's face has turned green. After a period of serialization, the girl by Gia has accumulated a lot of words, and the number of sets of books has also increased. The price of a complete set in a brand new package is not cheap. That's not a price that a roast can offset. Asuma just felt that he was at a big loss. It's a pity that Asuma didn't develop a face as thick as a city wall. Otherwise, it would have already reneged by now. As the tallest building in Konoha, the Hokage building is undoubtedly the landmark of Konoha village. Now, third generation was standing in front of the big French windows in the office, looking at the scenery outside the window with relief. Although just experienced a crisis of confidence. But with Naruto's ingenious help, third generation survived the crisis. This time also thanks to Naruto's brainstorm backquote. If Naruto hadn't testified for me, I'm afraid Uchiha wouldn't have let it go. If you find a chance, you must reward Naruto well. I don't know what he needs recently. Third generation sighed with emotion, and at the same time, his heart was full of complacency. Although it was thanks to Naruto's reminder this time, my brainstorming was also very ingenious. And this time I put all the responsibility on Itachi. Although it's troublesome not to kill Itachi, but now Itachi is no longer trusted. Even if he comes back now and says that I ordered him to do it, I'm afraid not many people will believe it. Thinking of this, a smile formed on the corner of third generation's mouth. The crisis of the Uchiha clan this time is too dangerous. The power of the dozens of Jonin-level ninjas that suddenly appeared, as well as the 7 or 8 pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan, is really hard to estimate. That night, if I hadn't suppressed the scene, I'm afraid the village would have been destroyed. Then I will become Konoha's eternal sinner. Thanks to Naruto, a well-behaved child. The third generation rejoiced, and felt more and more grateful to Naruto for his help. At this moment, there was a slightly panicked knock on the door. Third generation frowned suddenly, and said in a deep voice. Who is it? Why are you so frizzy? Someone pushed the door open, and it was Anbu, who was arranged by third generation to monitor beside Naruto. At this moment, he said with a face full of panic. Hokage-sama, Naruto he. The calmness on third generation's face disappeared immediately, and turned into panic instead. What's going on? What happened to Naruto? Is he injured, or did something go wrong with his practice? Tell me quickly. What happened to Naruto? Anbu thought to himself, did you give me a chance to say it? But of course he didn't dare to say it out loud. I slandered a bit in my heart, but said honestly on the face. Nothing. Third generation's heart fell. What's going on? Why so frizzy? Anbu said. Naruto's behavior today is very abnormal. First, I cleaned the house neatly, and then bought a lot of snacks on the street. And he also closed the meatball shop. We felt strange, so we inquired and found out that Naruto is preparing for the new year. Third generation was taken aback, doubting his ears. What did you say? What is he going to do? Anbu said word by word. Naruto is celebrating the new year. Third generation's eyes were blank. It should only be December now? Is there still more than a month before the new year? Anbu nodded repeatedly. The third generation was even more at a loss. It's so far away. Why is Naruto planning to celebrate the new year? Is this stimulated by something? No, I have to go and see. Naruto must be very sensitive because he is so well behaved. His parents are not here, and he must spend the new year alone. He will definitely be very lonely. His abnormal preparation for the new year in advance must have something to do with this incident. I must go quickly. The more third generation spoke, his expression became more serious. He looked at Anbu and asked. Where is Naruto now? Anbu said. He's at home now. Even his avatar has been removed, and he's the only one at home. Third generation's heart skipped a beat. My heart is broken. Naruto must have a psychological problem. Third generation rushed out immediately, and then quickly rushed towards Naruto's house. Fortunately, third generation is also a not weak ninja, who once had the title of Doctor of Ninjutsu. After a few body flicker techniques, it has come to Naruto's home. Third generation came to the door of Naruto's house and knocked on the door with a light cough. Naruto, are you there? It's me, Grandpa Hokage. The door was pushed open. Naruto looked at third generation in surprise. Grandpa third generation, why are you here? This is really rude, come in. Naruto stepped aside, and third generation walked in with a smile on his face. Upon entering the house, third generation immediately scanned the situation inside the house. Just had a big cleaning, the whole house is spotless. Very clean and tidy. Those pots and pans placed side by side are simply the gospel of obsessive-compulsive disorder. Third generation nodded secretly, then asked with a smile. Naruto, what day are you today? Why do you remember cleaning? Naruto said with a smile. Isn't it time to prepare for the new year? It's a new year and a new atmosphere, so it's natural to clean up well. 11. Third generation showed a surprised expression and said doubtfully. Start preparing for the new year now? Isn't there still a month and a half left? Isn't it a waste of time to prepare so early? Naruto's face suddenly became serious. Grandpa third generation, where is this? The new year is the most important day of the year, so of course we should take it seriously. What happened 1.5 months in advance? If there is no delay, I plan to prepare 2 months in advance. Third generation nodded and said. It is indeed important to celebrate the new year, but 1.5 months in advance is still a bit too exaggerated. How good is it? Look outside. Who else is preparing for the new year besides you? Naruto said with a solemn face. Grandpa third generation is wrong. The new year is for yourself and has nothing to do with other people. Whether others mention preparing in advance has nothing to do with me. I just want to have a good New Year's and prepare me well in the new year and keep moving forward. After all, the new year is very meaningful. 1 year older means that I can grow up as soon as possible, and the days of Konoha's contribution are approaching. I don't think I'm paying too much attention to it. It's because everyone ignores the importance of the new year too much. Naruto's words were righteous, and third generation was taken aback for a moment. Follow-up Naruto also said a lot. The third generation seems to be in the fog, so it doesn't matter if you understand it or not. When third generation left Naruto's house with the New Year's gift from Naruto in his hand, he was totally confused. To third generation, Naruto's words are very reasonable, but he always feels that something is not right. Let him think about it, but he can't figure out what's going on. It's really strange. Is the new year really so important? Standing in front of Naruto's house, third generation frowned and reflected. He has to admit that the new year is the most important festival in Konoha village every year. The more he thought about it, the more third generation felt that Naruto's words were right. The scale in my heart gradually tilted because of Naruto's words. The will of the third generation is becoming increasingly shaken. When leaving Naruto's house, the whole person walked unsteadily and looked very spiritless. In the head of the whole person, Naruto's righteous words still echoed. Could it be that I really don't pay much attention to it? Third generation fell into deep doubts. The next day, the sun is still shining. On the street, several teenagers walked boredly. It's so boring. That guy Naruto hasn't come out to teach us recently. Ya held the back of his head and said with a bored face. Do you know what he's been up to lately? Hearing this, Shikamaru suddenly thought about what happened yesterday. Shino said silently. I heard that Naruto seems to be starting the new year. However, his words dissipated like the wind and did not reach Ya's ears. It did not reach the ears of others. Xiaoli said seriously. Mr. Naruto must think that we no longer need to teach carefully. This is his recognition of us and a proof of our hard work. My blood is boiling right now. It's decided. I want to run 500 laps around the village to release my burning youthful blood. After finishing speaking, Xiaoli's eyes were burning with scorching flames, and he rushed out directly. This hot-blooded idiot is really the same as usual. Teeth said speechlessly. Then he turned to look at Shino. Shino, did you say something just now? Kiba felt that Shino had spoken, but he didn't remember it. It must be that Shino's voice is too low. Shino opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Choji, who hesitated for a while, interrupted him directly. Actually, Naruto is preparing for the new year. 367. Fang stood still in surprise, his eyes widened. What did you say? Shino said helplessly. I just said that. However, no one paid any attention to him. Shikamaru shook his head and said. Anyway, when I met Naruto yesterday, he suddenly went crazy for some reason. There is still such a long time, but now he is about to start preparing. Really, I don't know what to say about him. Kiba ran 2 steps in a hurry, followed in the footsteps of his friends, then hugged Akamaru on his head, and asked suspiciously. What's the matter? Why did he suddenly think of preparing for the new year? Shikamaru shrugged, spread his hands and said. How would I know? He started all of a sudden. Perhaps that's why I didn't go to the practice field these days. Ya looked at the direction Xiaoli was running towards, and said with a smile. Then Xiaoli completely misunderstood, haha. However, no matter how you think about it, it's really too early to start preparing for the new year now. The new year is all about the atmosphere, and now he is preparing for it alone. There is no New Year's atmosphere. Choji nodded repeatedly. That's it. Every New Year's Eve, I can eat a lot of delicious food at any relative's house I go to. The result is simply not possible now. Shino thought for a while and said. There is really no need to prepare so long in advance. And the New Year's goods for the new year have not yet come out, and there are no gift bags. If Naruto really wants to start preparing, he will have to prepare all the gifts for others by himself. Shikamaru looked at Shino and said. Shino is right, there is really no need. Fang looked at Ji suspiciously. Huh? What did Shino say just now? Choji also turned to look at Shino with a puzzled expression. Shino sighed deeply. Shino is used to this situation. From birth to now, no matter what you do, it is very easy to be ignored. Few people pay special attention to Shino, let alone his speech. Shikamaru also helplessly explained to the two of them. Shino said that Naruto's behavior is really superfluous. Obviously, after a while, everyone prepares for the new year together to be the happiest. Naruto prepares it by himself, and there is no taste of the year at all. Teeth nodded deeply and said. That's right, New Year's is a festival that everyone spends together, and it must be lively to be interesting. Naruto prepares by himself, it's not interesting at all. That's right, Naruto is the only one who doesn't fit in. They are all normal people's thinking, so naturally they have to follow the normal order. Huh? Is that Hinata? What's that in her hand? Choji pointed forward curiously. Everyone looked up, and sure enough, they saw Hinata's figure. In Hinata's hands, there is also a red thing. After getting closer, they were surprised to find that it turned out to be a lantern. Shikamaru immediately realized that things were not easy. But he didn't make a sound, but observed silently. Tooth came forward and said hello. Good morning, Hinata. Hinata couldn't help but jump when he saw a large group of people appearing in front of him. Only when I saw that it was a classmate did I feel relieved. Good morning everyone, she greeted softly. Fang looked curiously at the lantern in Hinata's hand, stared at it and asked. Why are you holding this? Is there something wrong with your family? Choji and Shi No were also full of curiosity. Hinata whispered suddenly. I met Naruto yesterday, and he told me that Chinese New Year is a very important festival. I thought about it, and the Spring Festival is indeed very important, so I made some preparations in advance. Really? Shikamaru was speechless. Teeth widened his eyes. You said you prepared this for the Spring Festival? Hinata nodded shyly. Well, if there is nothing else, I have to prepare other things. Saying that, Hinata left from the side of several people. Ya and the others stared blankly at Hinata's leaving figure. No. What's Hinata thinking? It's still a month and a half away. Teeth said frantically. What are you planning to do so early? Don't you have to wait until the Spring Festival to celebrate the festival? Choji's fat face was full of doubts. Why didn't Hinata buy some food? For Choji, festivals are all about eating good food. As a member of the Akamichi clan, I have always been the most sensitive about what I eat. Shino opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Shikamaru said. Now Naruto is not alone in the preparation. And I have a hunch that Hinata is definitely not the only one besides Naruto preparing for the Spring Festival. The other three immediately turned to look at Shikamaru, waiting for his explanation. Shikamaru rolled his eyes and said. Don't forget those nympho people in our class, like Ino, the lil ones will definitely start preparing. Actually, when we met Naruto yesterday, Ino said to start preparing. Now it seems that the possibility that she is preparing is very high. The more I think about it, the more likely it is. Why don't we just go to practice? I always feel itchy all over my body, and I want to do something to move my muscles and bones. Choji hesitated, then nodded. All right. He needs to do some other things to keep his brain from thinking about all kinds of delicious snacks during the Spring Festival. Zhi Nai said that it doesn't matter, no one listens to him anyway. Although Shikamaru found it a bit troublesome, he still couldn't hold back his persistence and could only go to the training ground with him. Then, the four of them plus Xiaoli who joined in halfway, the five of them were sweating and full of youthful blood on the training ground. It didn't stop until it was about to reach the limit. I always feel that the speed of cultivation has dropped a lot recently. Teeth sat on the ground, panting, and said. Sure enough, it still has something to do with Naruto. When he is around, at least you can ask him for help when you encounter problems you don't understand. Then he said with some complaints. Why do you think that Naruto guy is doing a bad job, insisting on wasting so much time preparing for the new year? Can't we wait for everyone to come together? What's the point of such a person preparing? Choji was lying on the ground breathing heavily, expressing that he didn't want to talk at all. Shino took all his worms into his body and then said. This is Naruto's own idea, and we have no right to interfere. Xiaoli was still bouncing around doing warm-up exercises, as if he was about to do some exercise. Your physical strength is also too weak. How can you do this? Is this not enough? Faced with Xiaoli's ridicule, the four said they didn't want to talk to this physical idiot. Except for his super strength, Xiaoli is weaker than them in other aspects. However, due to his strong physical fitness, Xiaoli did not lag behind them too much. It's just that ninjutsu such as blasting technique and body flicker technique, his learning progress is not fast, and he is inferior in the class. It is really that Xiaoli's ninjutsu talent is too bad. Even Naruto is hard to save. Shikamaru looked at the sky and said. It's getting late, let's hurry back. Otherwise we won't be able to eat dinner in a while. Dinner. Choji bounced up from the ground abruptly, his eyes full of ferocity. There was no sign that he was too tired to move, and Choji just jumped up. What are you waiting for? If you don't leave, you won't have dinner. Everyone stared dumbfounded at Choji who was alive and kicking. In the end, they were all speechless, as expected of the Akamichi clan. I am really obsessed with eating. The man left the training ground and came to the village. It was getting closer to evening, and there were many fewer people on the street. Everyone has gone back to make dinner. naturally not strolling on the street. It always feels much quieter than in the morning. The tooth looked around and said, but I still haven't seen anyone preparing for the spring festival. Suddenly, Fang had a flash of inspiration. By the way, let's go to Sasuke's house. Based on Sasuke's attitude towards Naruto, he will never prepare for Chinese New Year. At least it will never be prepared so early. When everyone thinks about it, it is really possible. After all, when he was in the class, Sasuke has always expressed his dissatisfaction with Naruto. Although Sasuke has never been Naruto's opponent in terms of strength, Sasuke is undoubtedly the strongest in their class. After all, he is known as the genius of the Uchiha clan. Hearing Kiba's suggestion, Shikamaru said immediately. Based on Sasuke's character, he is probably still practicing now. When everyone heard it, they felt very reasonable. Only Choji said hesitantly. But now it's almost time to eat, will he really go to practice? Teeth rolled his eyes and said. Don't mistake Sasuke for you, that guy is very crazy when he cultivates. Just skipping a meal is nothing to him. While there is still some time, hurry up and have a look. The teeth are a little eager to try. It's as if Sasuke was able to prove that Naruto's behavior was futile by not preparing for the spring festival. The same goes for the others, and they followed without hesitation for too long. Soon, a group of people came to the Uchiha tribe. It really has changed a lot. Shikamaru looked at the Uchiha guard who let him pass easily, and he even saw the kind smile on the guard's face. Usually Shikamaru sees more serious faces of the Uchiha clan. When has he ever seen such a smile? If it was in the past, it would be impossible to enter Uchiha's clan at this point in time. When others heard Shikamaru's words, they couldn't help but click. Tooth said curiously, I really want to know what happened. It is said that Naruto seemed to be there that night. I don't know if it is true. Shikamaru thought for a while and said, it should be true, after all. Naruto always appears in various events in the village, and he is basically the most central person. Others thought about it and found that it was true. They had to admit that the nearest Naruto was really the focal point of the village. As long as there are some things, it will definitely have something to do with Naruto. Because of Naruto, their strength has improved by leaps and bounds. Even though they have just entered school now, their strength is no less than that of ordinary Jonin. Which 6-year-old child in Ninja Village can have this kind of strength, and the senior management of the village will probably wake up laughing from their dreams. It should be here soon. Shikamaru looked around, observing the possible location of Sasuke's house. To be honest, it was their first time to Sasuke's house. So they don't know exactly where Sasuke's house is. But in any case, Sasuke is the son of the patriarch, and the family of the patriarch is definitely not ordinary. So Shikamaru looked for a garden that looked more spacious. It should be the one in front. Shikamaru pointed to a house with a large courtyard ahead and said. Teeth quickened his pace immediately. Come on, let's go check it out. Choji also quickened his pace. That's right, you must not delay the time for eating. Shikamaru and Shino followed slowly behind. Then, they saw Kiba and Choji running to the gate of the courtyard, and suddenly stood still. What's the matter? Why don't you go in? Shikamaru asked suspiciously, then stretched his neck behind Fang and looked in. Suddenly a big red lantern came into Shikamaru's eyes. What are you doing here? Sasuke's face looked good, but the tone of his mouth was not very polite. At this moment Sasuke was standing at the door, blocking the way of Ya and others. Or rather, it was the teeth they blocked Sasuke's way. Because Sasuke obviously wanted to hang the lantern in his hand at the door. Seeing this situation as soon as they arrived at the door, the entire group was dumbfounded. Teeth trembled involuntarily all over. This situation was really beyond the expectations of all of them. It was so surprising. The person they thought was the least likely to be infiltrated by Naruto's actions turned out to be the first to betray them. As for Hinata, their girls have always favored Naruto. Takumi and the others didn't count girls at all. In fact, the tooth didn't even think about it. Sasuke has always regarded Naruto as his old enemy. Everything has to be compared with Naruto. Even if this matter has nothing to do with ascension to the city, but with Sasuke's character, how could he do nothing? In fact, if Naruto hadn't happened to come over to deliver the lanterns, I'm afraid Sasuke would have gone out and bought all the lantern couplets and New Year's goods in one go. And will definitely buy more than Naruto. With trembling teeth, he pointed at the big red lantern in Sasuke's hand, and stammered. Sasuke, What are you? What are you? Sasuke frowned, looking at the teeth like an idiot. Are you blind? Can't you see clearly with such a big lantern? Shikamaru gritted his teeth and explained. He was trying to say why you're holding a lantern. Sasuke pouted. I don't want to take it, that guy Naruto took it. Said it was for my mother. After explaining, Sasuke complained in a low voice. Really, isn't it just a lantern? Obviously I'm ready to go out and buy. Although he was complaining, Sasuke didn't show any complaints on his face, instead he looked happy. Ya and the others couldn't help but look at each other. Never thought of that. The one they thought was the most resistant turned out to be the first to fall to Naruto. This result is completely different from what they imagined. Don't you have anything else to do? Sasuke frowned and looked at the 4 people who were still blocking the door without understanding. Shikamaru hastily pulled his teeth and made way for Choji. We're just here to take a look. What the hell, keep busy. Let's go first. Then, Shikamaru pulled the 2 of them away quickly without looking back. Sasuke frowned and looked at Shikamaru and the others going away. What the hell are they doing here? I just wanted to ask if I wanted to stay for dinner. What a bunch of inexplicable guys. Shaking his head, he didn't pay attention to the group of 4 who came and left suddenly. Sasuke looked disgusted, but quickly hung the red lantern presented by Naruto at the door. Sure enough, Naruto's taste is not very good at first glance. If it were me, I would definitely be able to pick out the most magnificent and gorgeous lantern. It's a pity that that guy doesn't know how to please his mother, so he only wants to hang on to this. The foursome left the Uchiha clan land, and then parted ways, each heading towards their own homes. On the way, Ya only felt that his spirit was muddled, like a ball of paste. Following the instinct of the body, Ya returned home smoothly. But Fang's slightly dull expression made his sister a little worried. Inuzuka Hana reached out and touched Tantu's forehead. I don't have a fever. Why do you look so listless? Ya looked up and found out that it was his sister, so he said something to himself. I'm back. Then it passed by the Inuzuka flower. Inuzuka frowned slightly, and muttered in her heart when she saw Yaya, who was clearly out of state. This child. Why is his spirit so bad all of a sudden? Could it be broken love? Suddenly, Inuzuka Hana's brows relaxed, and became excited instead. He hurriedly went to Ya's side, and asked his young brother curiously. Tooth, is there anything bothering you recently? Don't hold it in your heart, say it all, and you will be happy when you say it. Come on, talk it out. To make your sister and I happy. Inuzuka Hana looked concerned, but the smile on her mouth gave her away. Teeth said in a trance. Nothing. It's just that I feel like I know someone again. Hearing this, Inuzuka Hana suddenly became worried again. Is the tooth hurt? Why are you suddenly so sad? Are emotions so rich at such a young age? Even though I haven't had a boyfriend yet, it seems that my brother is still very popular. However, you can't let him be so depressed all the time. Inuzuka Hana felt that as a sister, she should enlighten her teeth. But she was also half-hearted, and she didn't respond after talking for a long time. When I returned to my room after eating with stiff teeth, the whole family felt that the teeth were abnormal. Inuzuka looked at the closed door suspiciously. Is this guy injured? How come you don't even have the energy to eat? Inuzuka Hana rolled her eyes and said. If he's hurt, can't you smell the blood? Inuzuka nodded. That's true, if that's the case, then it's fine. With that said, he went directly to the house. Leave only the Inuzuka flower brush bowl. Inuzuka Hana sighed helplessly. My mother's temper is too straightforward, she is not as delicate as a woman at all. At this time, as a mother, you should pay more attention to the physical and mental health of your teeth. In the end, it's okay if you don't get hurt. This is too careless. In the room. Teeth lay on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Sudden. What happened during the day today, recalled in my mind. I think what Naruto said is very reasonable. The Spring Festival is a very meaningful festival. Hinata appeared, and then slowly went away. It was from Naruto guy, my mother was very happy. Sasuke's stinking face appeared, and he also walked away into the distance. Here, I also bought a cage at home. Choji scratched his head in embarrassment, and drifted away slowly. Even during the Spring Festival, we must burn our youthful blood to make this Spring Festival more meaningful. Xiaoli's face was full of hot youthful flames. Well, the family already. Shino turned sideways, as if unable to keep his eyes on Kiba. Sorry, my side. Shikamaru scratched his cheek, looking sheepish. Fang suddenly stretched out his hand, trying to grab the friends who were away from him one by one. Wait, wait for me. Wow woof, woof woof. Akamaru yelled anxiously, but the boy in front of it just frowned tightly, showing an uncomfortable expression. Teeth closed his eyes tightly, his forehead was covered with sweat, and the quilt had already been kicked to nowhere by him. The whole person kept tossing and turning on the bed. Sweat had already soaked his back at some point. Seeing the teeth getting more and more uncomfortable, Akamaru had no choice but to rush forward. One mouth. Ah! Fang let out a miserable howl and jumped up from the bed. Panting heavily, he realized that he was at home. At this time, I felt some pain in the back of my hand. Kiba looked down and saw that Akamaru was biting the back of his hand tightly. Seeing Kiba's gaze, Akamaru quickly let go of his mouth. Kiba hugged Akamaru up, facing its gaze. Did you wake me up? Thank you. Putting Akamaru down, Ya was very grateful. Fortunately, it was just a dream, not reality. Teeth let out a sigh of relief. Finally, the teeth tightened and the eyes became firm. No, I must not be involved in Naruto because of such absurd things. This is too much nonsense. If it is about strength improvement, Yin will definitely open the book happily with everyone. Because Ya has already tasted the sweetness of strength improvement. Now even if she is Ya's mother, she may not necessarily be Ya's opponent. Born in a place like the ninja world, and in a small family, even if Ya is still young, the pursuit of strength has become an instinct. Therefore, I am very happy to follow Naruto to learn this and that, because it can really improve my strength. But Naruto's actions this time are really absurd in his eyes. It's just a spring festival, and it can be celebrated every year. As for being so grand, Tooth can't understand Naruto's thoughts. That's the decision, and we must pull Shikamaru and the others. 753, and they all say that things in dreams should be looked at backwards. Since Shikamaru and the others have opened the book in the dream, they will definitely not open the book in reality. The more I think about it, the more I feel that my idea is very correct. Just at this time, a little light shone through the window. Ya turned his head, only to realize that it was already morning. It's time to go out for morning exercise, Teeth said subconsciously. Afterwards, he skillfully put on his clothes and load, and rushed out. Since they started practicing with Naruto, getting up early and doing morning exercises has become their instinct. Get up on time every morning, and then go out for morning exercises. It is nothing more than to consolidate the various ninjutsu learned. When Ya arrived, almost everyone in their class had arrived. In addition to Naruto and Hinata. Oh, and little Sakura and Ino aren't there either. Naruto and Hinata are not here, so I can still understand. After all, both of them are starting to prepare for the spring festival. As for Sasuke, even if he had to prepare for the Chinese New Year, he would still not give up any time to practice. It's better to say that the current situation is exactly in Sasuke's mind. Sasuke watched as Naruto didn't show up again. The pride in his heart made his head fly high. Since you're so lax, don't blame me for passing you, Naruto. HMPH, when you show up next time, I will definitely make you dumbfounded. Kiba moved closer to Shikamaru and the others, and asked curiously. How do you feel that there are a few people missing? Ya looked around carefully, and found that besides Naruto and the other four, there were several other classmates who were not there. Shikamaru shook his head and said, who knows, they might all be infected by Naruto. His teeth shivered suddenly, and the nightmare scene in his mind resurfaced again. No. Can't think about those things anymore. Even if those people open the book, it is their business. I will never open the book because of this kind of thing. Shikamaru and they certainly won't either. Tooth turned his head to look at Shikamaru's indifferent expression. From his understanding of Shikamaru, he knew that Shikamaru definitely didn't take this matter to heart. As the sun rises gradually, the whole earth is under the sunshine. Morning exercise also ends at this time. After going home and having breakfast, because the school set up a conspiracy. Kabato Shikamaru and the others got together again. 5 people were walking on the street, looking left and right. Ya looked at the street as usual, as if a stone had been put down in his heart. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and then said with a smile. I just said, even if Naruto is involved in other things, but this matter, except for those girls, no one can follow suit. Shikamaru nodded and said, Indeed, after all, when the spring festival is celebrated, everyone already has a habit. It's still too early, not to mention that the stores are not even ready for the new year. Choji opened his mouth, as if about to say something. But then he bowed his head in shame. Fortunately, Choji was last. The others didn't notice the change in Choji's expression. Xiaoli said with some incomprehension. Isn't it better to buy something when the spring festival is about to start? Why is Naruto in such a hurry? Ya seemed to have found a confidant. With an excited smile on his face, he immediately turned his head and said. I think so too. It's really weird what Naruto did, isn't it? Xiaoli nodded, thinking back to the few laps he had done before. I just spent time with Mr. Guy casually. I remember, the year before last, we ran 1,000 laps around the village together to celebrate the spring festival. Last year, it was raised to 2,000 laps. Teeth's expression froze. The others also looked at Xiaoli with surprise. They thought Xiaoli was the same person as them. As a result, now it seems that Xiaoli is the most outrageous among them. New Year's lap running? What the hell? And run more than usual. I really don't understand the thinking of these body training madmen. Shikamaru stared blankly at Lee. Your way of celebrating the new year is really fresh and refined. Xiaoli didn't hear Shikamaru's hidden meaning, and smiled and gestured with his thumb. You think it's great too, right? Otherwise, you should join us this New Year's Eve. Shocked, Shikamaru joined hands and said. No, I can't come out during the spring festival. You can find someone else. The teeth should be quite suitable. Fang looked at Shikamaru in shock, but he didn't expect that Shikamaru, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, would sell him out just like that. Then Ya turned his head and saw Xiaoli's expectant face, shook his head frantically and said. No, I had to help the family at that time, and I didn't have time to come out. Why don't you go to Choji? I think Choji needs to lose weight. Hearing the word, weight loss, Kuwen's face suddenly showed a fierce light. What do you mean tooth? Are you saying I'm fat? Oops. Forget about this. Ya was startled, and beads of sweat immediately appeared on his forehead. Choji hates being called fat. In his haste this time, Yin unexpectedly forgot this taboo. Well, I didn't mean that. Choji, listen to me. Babbled incoherently and wanted to quibble, but after thinking for a long time, he couldn't think of a suitable excuse. At this moment, Zhi No, who had been taciturn all this time, uttered, saved Yashi's life. Look, is that Ino and little Sakura? What are they doing? Everyone's eyes were immediately diverted, even Choji was the same. Seeing that Choji's eyes were not on him, Fang suddenly let out a long breath. An angry Choji is just too scary. Then, Ichigo looked up and saw Sakura Jr. and Ino standing in front of a shop, looking like they were arguing 10. Before they got any closer, I heard little Sakura's loud voice. Don't think about Ino pig. I'm the first one to buy Spring Festival couplets. After Naruto, the first one to buy couplets has to be me, Haruno Sakura. Not to be outdone, Ino shouted loudly against little Sakura's forehead. Wide forehead. Everything must be done on a first-come, first-served basis. This time I was the first to arrive. You who are later, hurry up and queue up behind me. How could little Sakura admit that she lost to Ino? Which eye of yours sees that I'm slower than you? Obviously my toes are faster, Ino shouted angrily. Brown forehead. Widen your eyes to see clearly, I was the one who arrived first. It's me. It's me. I said it was me. Don't talk nonsense, it's me. The two were arguing lively, and in front of them, a clerk with a forced smile on his face was looking at them helplessly. That. As soon as the clerk spoke, little Sakura and Ino immediately turned their heads to look at the clerk with very unkind eyes. Fortunately, the clerk has a good heart and was not frightened. But when he thought about the situation in the store, the clerk said helplessly. Actually, the store doesn't sell Spring Festival couplets at all now. It is still too far away from the Spring Festival, and there is no preparation in advance. After saying this, little Sakura and Ino stopped arguing with each other. Directly put the gunfire on the clerk's face. The little Sakura grabbed the clerk by the collar and almost sprayed the clerk's face with saliva. What did you say? There are no Spring Festival couplets for sale. The Spring Festival is such an important festival, and you haven't prepared it in advance? The wide forehead also echoed, and with her sharp eyes, she saw that there were couplets in the store. That's right. Your store is too outrageous, and I've seen it all, don't try to lie to us. Aren't there many couplets in it? Little Sakura's eyes flashed fiercely. Did you think we were too young to come up with money, so you said no? Tell you, don't underestimate us, the clerk said without tears. The couplets in the store are used in opening ceremonies and other places. 1.0, not Spring Festival couplets. 17. The clerk is really wronged. Who did he provoke? How could there be such two crazed customers just after work? Ino's face was full of disbelief. Impossible. I clearly saw that Naruto bought Spring Festival couplets from you yesterday. The clerk said immediately. Naruto was customized in advance, and I just came to pick up the goods yesterday. Chuang said. Then we also want to customize. Little Sakura followed suit. That's right, I also want to customize. I want the same Spring Festival couplets as Naruto. The clerk immediately said in embarrassment. However, the custom-made master injured his hand yesterday, and now he can't make it. Little Sakura immediately rolled up her sleeves and said. Where is the custom master? Take me there quickly, I will treat him now. Ino is also eager to try. That's right, take us there quickly. It never occurred to the two of them that they would not treat injuries at all. At most, the bandage was just a bandage. Ya and others who watched from the side watched Sakura and Ino pulling the clerk away involuntarily, and couldn't help but shuddered. Two lunatics. Teeth complained silently. The others nodded in agreement. Silently watching the little Sakura and Ino dragging the innocent clerk away at a fast speed, Ya and the others couldn't help but mourn for the poor clerk. Suddenly, Ya suddenly came back to his senses and looked at the little friend beside him. I said, you should not become like this, because it's too ridiculous to roll up this kind of thing. Shikamaru nodded. Indeed, even the store didn't start preparing. Naruto's behavior is really redundant. Xiaoli said thoughtfully. If you start preparing from now, do you want to demand yourself with the standards of celebrating the Spring Festival every day from now on? Thinking of Xiaoli's celebration of Chinese New Year, they couldn't help but feel toothache. It's just crazy. When other people celebrate the festival, they eat delicious food, wear new clothes, and collect lucky money. But when it comes to Xiaoli, good guy, let's go straight to training. It's also crazy. Teeth said they couldn't accept it. I don't think so, G. Think about it, if every day has the same standard as the Spring Festival, wouldn't that not reflect the importance of the Spring Festival? When Xiaoli heard it, he suddenly realized. You're right, Teeth, indeed. This way you won't be able to reflect the feeling of exhaustion during the Spring Festival. However, my physical strength has improved a lot now, and I don't know if I can still be exhausted from last year's requirements. It seems that we still need to find a time to test it. In any case, it should be on the first day of the new year, so that we can feel where our limits are. Ya looked uncomfortable, expressing that he didn't want to talk to Xiaoli. They are simply not on the same channel. Kiba looked at Shino and said. What about you? You won't betray us, will you? Shino shook his head and said. No, because we don't like a lot of fanfare during Chinese New Year. Fang immediately felt relieved, and looked expectantly at the last Choji. Then, there was a sudden thump in the heart of the teeth. Because Fang saw hesitation and apology on Choji's face. Why the hesitation? Why the apology? Could it be that Choji, you thick eyebrows and big eyes, betrayed the organization? Teeth suddenly widened his eyes. Shikamaru and Shino also looked at Choji in surprise. Seeing everyone staring at him, Choji felt even more embarrassed. He scratched the back of his head and said with his head down. Actually, after I got home yesterday, I saw Spring Festival couplets had been pasted up at home. It was my mother who saw Naruto buying Spring Festival couplets yesterday, so she bought them in advance. Fang suddenly reached out his hand to stop Choji's words. Wait. Buy Spring Festival couplets. But didn't you see them just now? There are none in the store. Where did your mother buy them from? Choji looked at little Sakura in the direction they were leaving, and said. Isn't there a customized service? My mother ordered a copy directly, and it is said that it will come out soon. By the way, I bought a lantern. After saying that, Choji lowered his head even lower. I'm sorry, I'm going back now, and I still need my help at home. Finally, he finished what he wanted to say after he came out, and ran away without looking back. Because Choji also feels sorry for his little friend, but the family has already started preparations, so naturally Choji can't pretend that it didn't happen. And Choji's mother has spoken, If Choji doesn't come home to help, dinner will be gone. So even if I'm sorry, my friend, I have to go back this time. For Choji, eating is a top priority. As soon as Choji left, only 4 people were left frozen on the street, like 4 sculptures. Fang felt his eyes darken, and an ominous premonition welled up in his heart. The dream from last night came to mind again. Just like in the dream, Choji was the first to betray, followed by Lee and the others. Fang set his sights on Shikamaru and the others, trembling. You guys won't betray me, will you? Shikamaru was alert. He felt the voice of the teeth trembling, and it sounded very pitiful. Don't worry, I won't betray you. Xiaoli also immediately gestured with his shiny thumb. I, Xiaoli, will never betray my friends. Shi No nodded silently. Tooth suddenly felt a lot more at ease, however. At night, Ya still had dinner absent-mindedly. Ignoring her sister's probing gaze, she went straight back to their room. Then, Fang was lying on the bed, the pajamas on his body were soaked, and his forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. Akamaru yelled from the side, it smelled the restless breath coming from the teeth. But no matter how much it yelled, there was no sign of waking up. Ya's complexion was very ugly, he didn't know what he had dreamed about, he looked very painful, and his facial features were wrinkled. He kept turning sideways repeatedly on the bed, but no matter how he adjusted, he couldn't find a comfortable angle. Suddenly, Fang suddenly opened his eyes and let out a sound. Teeth sat up, panting heavily. At this time, only the moonlight shines on the quilt through the window in the room, providing a little light. Fang suddenly came back to his senses. Am I dreaming again? Fortunately it's just. Wait, is it really just a dream? Thinking of the scene where Choji betrayed them like in a dream during the day, Ya's heart wobbled. Forget it. Choji is also force majeure. He didn't intend to betray us, it's just that his family prepared in advance, and he had no choice. Shikamaru and the others will definitely not betray me. After all, Shikamaru's father is as afraid of trouble as Shikamaru, and he will definitely not prepare for the new year in advance. Pick a reason for yourself. Tooth let out a long breath. As soon as he lay back, he suddenly let out a strange cry, and jumped out of the bed again. Ya looked back at the bed, his face full of surprise. Here, why so much water? Suddenly, Fang blushed. Did I pee my pants? Although the scene in the dream is indeed frightening, it is not enough to pee your pants, right? Fortunately, the wet part was the back, the lower body was not affected, and he didn't smell a urine. So far so good. Tooth grows a sigh of relief, and I am very grateful. If my mother and sister find out that he wets the bed, they won't have to think about going out tomorrow. It's just too social. Just because of the carefree personality of Mama Inuzuka, I will definitely take this incident as an interesting story and tell others about it. At that time, Ya's famous name in this life will be gone. Forget it, I won't be able to sleep like this. Ya looked at the sky, and it was only a few hours before dawn. He is not sleepy at all now. Just go out and practice. If you are sleepy, come back and sleep. I can't sleep now anyway. In order not to disturb the rest of the family, Kiba quietly took Akamaru away. After practicing for a while, feeling a little tired, I went home and went back to sleep before the sun rose. In the morning, after breakfast, yawning a little listlessly, I met Shikamaru and the others on the street. Choji didn't show up, he must be busy preparing for the new year. Shikamaru asked curiously. What's wrong with you? Didn't you sleep well? And you didn't come out for morning exercise this morning? Teeth yawned. I came out, but it was earlier. I had a nightmare yesterday, my whole back was soaked, and I couldn't sleep on the bed at all. So I went out to practice for a while, and went back before the sun came out to catch up on returning to the cage. Shino looked at his teeth and said, no wonder you look out of spirits. Obviously the Choji are out. As a result, you didn't come out, we thought you were angry. Ya stared at the dead fish and looked ahead, and said helplessly. Why am I angry? It's not something to be angry about. I just think it's really unnecessary to prepare for the spring festival so early in advance. With that time, wouldn't it be better to practice more? Hearing Iba's words, Shikamaru and the others looked at each other with a flash of relief. It's a pity that Ya, who walked in the front, didn't see this scene. 373, eh? That's Kakashi-sensei. He's holding. Xiaoli suddenly pointed to the front and shouted. It turned out to be spring festival couplets. Did even Mr. Kakashi prepare it in advance? Teeth widened his eyes in panic. Where is it? Where is it? Soon, Kiba found Kakashi, who had just come out of the shop. Even Kiba saw not only Kakashi, but also other people. Ms. Might Guy? Why is he carrying a lantern? Huh? Xiaoli let out a cry. Is it really Mr. Guy? Why is he here? At this time, Shikamaru and the others also found other familiar figures. There is also Mr. Asuma. The ones in his hand must be the New Year's goods, and there were none yesterday, so why are they on sale today? Senior Maziti is also here, doesn't he need to look at the gate? Tiantian, Neji, and Iron Tree are all there. Damn it, have they all fallen? Gritting his teeth, he couldn't believe what he saw. Running over to grab Kakashi, he looked up anxiously and asked. Mr. Kakashi, why are you preparing for the new year in advance? Isn't it still a long time now? Kakashi looked down, smiled and rubbed Teeth's head. It's Teeth, I heard you almost wet the bed? When Ya heard this, the whole person immediately jumped up. I didn't wet the bed. That's sweat, my sweat. Kakashi said with a smile. I know, that's why I said almost. As for this. Kakashi looked at the Spring Festival couplets in his hand, looked at everyone on the street, and lowered his head to ask. Didn't you see it? Everyone is buying it now. I thought they all needed to buy it anyway. It doesn't matter if you buy it sooner or later, so why not buy it sooner? Late has no good goods. Okay, go and play with your little friend, I have other things to buy. Rubbing Teeth's head again, Kakashi left in a good mood. Standing there in a daze with only Teeth left, watching Kakashi leave and walk into another store. Fang looked around. Indeed, as Kakashi said, everyone is preparing for the new year. Those who buy Spring Festival couplets buy Spring Festival couplets, those who buy lanterns buy lanterns, and those who buy New Year's goods buy New Year's goods. Always, the streets are full of prosperity. But in Ya's eyes, all this seems to be harmonious, but it is so abrupt. Do you know that it is the beginning of December? There is still more than a month before the new year. Fang screamed frantically in his heart. A palm patted Ya's shoulder, as if comforting Ya. Don't worry about it, just stick to your own heart. Tooth turned back and saw yes, this immediately warmed the Teeth. Sure enough, you are good brothers, I knew you would not betray me. After saying this, the three of Shikamaru suddenly became a little embarrassed. Looking at their wandering eyes, Ya was stunned for a moment, and then the whole person trembled involuntarily. You guys didn't betray me, did you? Seeing that Shikamaru couldn't hide it anymore, he sighed helplessly. I don't want to either, but you should have heard of my mother's temper. My dad and I can't resist at all. Ya's eyes darkened, and he immediately looked at Nehi Xiaochen expectantly. Xiaoli scratched his head and said embarrassedly. Momentum, Teacher Guy invited me to prepare for the new year together yesterday. We also hung lanterns together. But I didn't expect Teacher Guy to come to buy Spring Festival couplets by himself. He obviously agreed to come and buy them together yesterday. As he talked, Xiaoli began to complain, and looked dissatisfied at the figure of Might Guy not far away. It was clearly agreed. Fang turned his head and looked at the last hope. Shino's voice was still steady, even at this moment he was a little embarrassed. Originally, if you practiced with us this morning, you would be able to discover it. Actually, everyone has already started preparing for the new year. I was thinking about how to tell you, after all, I only promised you yesterday. It was not my original intention to betray, but the general trend, I have nothing to do. I'm sorry, Tooth. That was the case, I saw my father and I went to help. Saying that, Zhi Nai hurriedly left. Tooth feels dark. Shikamaru also scratched his head and said, I still have tasks assigned by my mother, so I will leave first. Sorry, Teeth. As for Xiaoli, he ran towards Might Guy long after he finished speaking. Obviously intending to argue with Might Guy, because of the matter of buying Spring Festival couplets without waiting for him. Suddenly, the area around the Teeth became empty. There are so many people coming and going, but Keiya feels so lonely. Why? What exactly is this for? Teeth couldn't figure it out. Why every time Naruto does anything, Yinjia will follow suit. When I practiced before, I could understand it. After all, everyone has their own pride and doesn't want to fall behind others. So everyone worked very hard, even if they didn't get enough sleep every day, they had to get up earlier than the sun to do morning exercises. But this is just for the Spring Festival. Although the annual Spring Festival is indeed very important, it means that everyone has grown a year old. But there are festivals every year, as for preparing so early? Obviously, there were no goods in the store before. But Ya has to admit that the sense of smell of these shops is really sensitive. There was nothing in stock yesterday. As a result, today I can directly satisfy the entire Konoha. This efficiency is really shocking. Now, standing on the street with people coming and going, Ya felt like a solitary boat on the sea in the snow. With the waves of fate constantly swaying, even Ya's heart began to waver. How long am I going to hold on to? What am I holding on to? Teeth feel a little confused. Ya suddenly didn't understand why he was so opposed to this matter before. Maybe it's a quarrel between young people's spirits. Maybe it's because you don't want to go with the flow. In short, by now everything has been meaningless. Even though Ya still wanted to stick to his true heart, the familiar figure seen in the distance became the last straw that crushed him. I didn't expect that even my sister came to buy it. Tooth smiled wryly and shook his head. Even if he doesn't buy it, he will see the New Year's goods he has bought when he goes home. So what is he struggling with now? Just lie flat and forget it. It's not a big deal anyway. Relax your body and mind, and feel the invisible burden wrapped around your body instantly lifted. The heavy shackles brought about by the nightmare last night disappeared, and Fang felt extremely relaxed at the moment. Stepping into the store in front of him, Ya shouted loudly. "Boss, give me the couplets, night." In the forest around the leaves. The two figures passed through the gap in the barrier and quietly approached Konoha. "Master Orochimaru, are you sure you are well prepared this time?" Do looked a little worried. Seeing Orochimaru's appearance in a panic when he returned with his own eyes, Do was very worried about whether Orochimaru's operation would be successful this time. Orochimaru had a relaxed smile on his face. It's just because he has made a very important breakthrough in his ninjutsu research recently. Relax, box. Last time, I was careless. I didn't expect Naruto to be able to see through my disguise. I'm well prepared this time, and you also collected the latest information on Naruto for me. The preparations this time are very thorough, and I have great confidence. Orochimaru said lightly. Do hurriedly lowered his head to show his humility. I'm very sorry, Lord Orochimaru, I should not have questioned your decision. Orochimaru was in a good mood and didn't care about these things. It doesn't matter, the most important thing now is to find Naruto. Night is the best time to sneak in. According to the Anbu patrol route you provided, I can find Naruto without anyone noticing. When the time comes, use the forbidden technique living corpse reincarnation I researched to take away his body. In this way, I can have that body full of potential. When it comes to excitement, Orochimaru's eyes are all clear, and his tongue keeps licking his lips in the depth of excitement. Living corpse reincarnation. Thinking of this forbidden technique, the whole person shivered involuntarily. In Orochimaru's research, Kanba is basically involved. Do knew the cruelty of the living corpse reincarnation very well. Forcibly put one's soul into another body, kill the original soul, and achieve the effect of a dove occupying a magpie's nest. As long as you succeed, you can live infinitely. After all, only the weak are old, and as long as the soul is immortal, they can live forever. This is the secret technique of immortality that Orochimaru did not hesitate to betray Konoha. Thinking of participating in this forbidden technique research, Do felt no pride, but was full of worry. In fear, Orochimaru would use his body as a container for his own soul. With Orochimaru's strength, Do has no chance to resist. Speaking of which, my subordinates haven't congratulated Master Orochimaru on the complete success of his research. Do said with a smirk on his face. Orochimaru led the way and said without looking back. Don't be so hypocritical, Ju. Don't worry, you are my important assistant, I will not treat you as a container. Cold sweat suddenly broke out on Do's face. The thoughts in his heart were seen through, even a double agent like Do couldn't help trembling at the moment. After all, Orochimaru is a moody man himself. But after getting along for so long, Do thinks he has enough understanding of Orochimaru. Orochimaru is not a liar. Therefore, since Orochimaru said that he would not use the bag as a container, he would not. While panicking, he also breathed a sigh of relief. But on the surface, Chen still wants to express his position. Master Orochimaru misunderstood me, and my subordinates sincerely congratulate Master Orochimaru for his research. The research that can make people live forever. If those who are greedy for life and fear of death know about it, I'm afraid there will be an endless stream of people visiting. It's a pity that they may not even be able to find you, Mr. Orochi. Do complimented Orochimaru, followed behind carefully observing Orochimaru's reaction. Orochimaru didn't bother to continue listening to the compliments. For Orochimaru, these compliments don't make him feel better, only discovering interesting things and making progress in research can make him feel better. Stop talking nonsense, we're almost there. This time, I will take Naruto's body away. Orochimaru's face was full of excitement. But soon, Orochimaru's mind flashed the information about Naruto he found recently. Especially in terms of speed, it has reached an unbelievable level. This immediately made Orochimaru a little less confident. After all, living corpse reincarnation didn't happen overnight. It requires some pre-preparation, and the best result is to make Naruto lose the ability to resist, so that Orochimaru can prepare for the step of changing the body. But it doesn't matter. If you can't get Naruto's body, at least get Uchiha's body. Uchiha's Sharingan is also worth digging into. Orochimaru set a bottom line for himself, in short. Compared with the last whim, this time Orochimaru is very well prepared. Just find a slight flaw in Naruto, knock him out and take him away, because you can have Naruto's body. Long time no see, Naruto. I hope you will like my present for you this time. Orochimaru licked his tongue excitedly. It was later discovered that something was wrong with the situation ahead. It's obviously night now. But Orochimaru found that there seemed to be a lot of light ahead. Master Orochimaru, something seems wrong. Pocket was also a little confused. According to Do's understanding, Konoha should have fallen into the night at this time. How can there be so much light? Across the trees in the forest, you can also see the light coming out of the gaps. Please wait a moment, I will go to find the Pathfinder. Do said, and rushed out directly. Orochimaru pulled the pocket tightly. Etc. I'll go with you. I want to see what happened. Orochimaru walked out of the forest first. Then, he froze. Passing through the forest, what Orochimaru sees is not a silent street in the dark night. Instead, there are lanterns all over the street, and there is an endless stream of pedestrians. Various vendors sell various special snacks that smell good on both sides of the street. Orochimaru even gulped at the taste. Do even stared at Konoha's changes with dumbfounded. No, I've only been away for 2 or 3 days. Why has the village changed so much? Do couldn't believe what he saw. Obviously only 2 or 3 days away, but came back to have a look. Good guy, is this the Konoha I know? And these are lanterns? Orochimaru frowned tightly, he felt something was wrong. Anything worth celebrating in the village lately? And at this point in time, there are still so many people on the street? Nowhere do I know what's going on. After all, Do has been by Orochimaru's side for the past 2 days. Master Orochimaru, even if it's a celebration, you don't know how to use cages. The lanterns are only hung during the spring festival. Orochimaru glanced back at Do, as if caring for Do's IQ. Thinking about the time now, it's only the beginning of February. 11. There is still more than a month until the spring festival. There must be a special reason. Come on, let me go over and ask. Orochimaru quickly changed clothes, and then swaggered to the busy street. Immediately, various yelling sounds came to my ears. Fresh fried chicken legs, tender and delicious bird legs. Would you like a pancake fruit? Wowoto. 102 or 4 wowoto. Fried chicken fillets. Fragrant and tender fried chicken fillets. The big squid legs just shipped from the country of water, 300 taels a bunch. Orochimaru feels like being in the midst of a busy city. But the time now is half 853 nights. Orochimaru suddenly believed what Kabuki said. Maybe these people are really celebrating the spring festival? But now there is still more than a month before the spring festival. Are they going to go on like this for over a month? This is too nonsense. When did the spring festival become so grand? Although the spring festival is an annual festival in the ninja world, it has many meanings. But Orochimaru had never seen preparations start so early. At most half a month in advance. Let's buy New Year's goods together, and prepare for spring festival couplets and lanterns. Master Orochimaru, they really seem to be celebrating the spring festival. Do whispered behind him. Do felt that the way Orochimaru looked at him before was biased. This atmosphere is obviously during the spring festival, and I only saw Konoha being so lively at night during the spring festival. But Orochimaru's eyes of caring for the mentally handicapped hurt Do very much. So Do whispered to remind Orochimaru what happened in their eyes at this time. Orochimaru's mouth twitched, but he didn't respond to Do's words, just said, "Go and ask someone first. Maybe something special happened in the village. Otherwise, it's hard to explain the reason for such a big change after you left for a few days. Think about it too. As soon as the front foot left, the village began to prepare for such a big celebration. No matter how you look at it, something is wrong. Orochimaru-sama is still cautious, jumping to conclusions before investigating clearly. I must learn from Master Orochimaru to consolidate my double agent skills." Soon, Orochimaru stopped a passerby and said curiously on his disguised face, "Excuse me, I just arrived at Konoha today, and I found it very lively here. I don't know what good things happened in the village recently." The passerby who was stopped looked at Orochimaru in surprise, saw Orochimaru dressed like a businessman, and said with a smile, "There is no special good thing, everyone is just preparing for the spring festival." "Is it really spring festival?" Do was stunned. Orochimaru was equally astonished, but thankfully the disguised face concealed his shock a bit. Orochimaru asked in surprise, "Chinese New Year. But there is still more than a month before the spring festival, right? Is it going to be like this for more than a month?" The passerby said with a smile, "After all, the spring festival is the biggest festival of the year, and it has a special meaning. After the spring festival, everyone will grow 1 year old, so it is naturally worthy of attention. That's why everyone will spontaneously prepare in advance. Although it is indeed a little earlier than usual, it's okay. It's lively, isn't it good?" Orochimaru said dryly. "So this is Thank you." The passerby waved his hand and said, "You're welcome. I wish you a happy time in the village." Afterwards, passersby planned to leave. After the passersby left, Yin Snake dragged him to a remote corner. "It's actually the spring festival. What the hell are they thinking? Starting the spring festival so early in advance. If it's like this every day, how can I get close to Naruto?" Orochimaru was planning to sneak in secretly. If it was like this every day, Orochimaru wouldn't be able to sneak attack at all. That is to say, before the spring festival, Naruto cannot be moved because of the snake. How could this make Orochimaru endure? Thinking that Naruto's body is very close to him, but Orochimaru can't get his hands on it. This feeling tormented Orochimaru deeply. "My lord, why don't we try it?" Do cautiously suggested. Now that everyone is immersed in the joy of celebrating the spring festival, maybe Naruto will relax his vigilance because of this. Orochimaru suddenly turned his head and looked at the bag as if he was looking at a mental retardation. "Are you an idiot? Pocket? Don't make me doubt your IQ. In this case, even if I succeed in the sneak attack, there will be some movement. Do you think I can safely take Naruto's body back?" Do immediately shut up. He lowered his head and dared not speak. "Hide your gaze behind your eyes." Orochimaru snorted coldly. Suddenly, Orochimaru frowned. "No, that person said just now that everyone spontaneously started preparing for the spring festival in advance. It's not right. It certainly wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been a trigger." The more Orochimaru thought about it, the more likely it was. He stopped passers-by to ask again. But not every passer-by knows who was the first to start preparing. Everyone just watched the people around them prepare in advance, so they prepared accordingly from person to person. Many people don't know who started it in the first place. Fortunately, there were not many people who saw Naruto buying spring festival couplets at that time. After several inquiries, Orochimaru knew the cause of the matter. It turned out to be Naruto. Orochimaru looked shocked. Could it be that Naruto was aware of my plans and designed this method to thwart me? A ludicrous thought popped into Orochimaru's mind. No, it's impossible. There is only one person who knows about my plan. It is absolutely impossible for Do to betray me. And it doesn't make sense to go back to Naruto. So it's just a coincidence. But what a coincidence. Orochimaru's mind raced through thought. On the one hand, Orochimaru felt the incident was too much of a coincidence. Just when Orochimaru was preparing to attack Naruto, Naruto took the lead and started preparing for the spring festival in advance. But Orochimaru also knew that it was absolutely impossible for Naruto to know his plan. So, this could only be a coincidence. Go back, choke. This time I can only give up and wait until the spring festival is over. Orochimaru had no choice but to give up this action. It is really not allowed. By the way, Do, you have to pay close attention to the situation in the village. If there is any abnormality, please report to me in time. Why? Orochimaru ordered before leaving. Do hastily lowered his head and answered. Yes, Master Orochimaru. Subsequently, Dodo followed behind Orochimaru and left Konoha quietly. Time flies by. Konoha soon ushered in the most important festival of the year, Circle. During this period, Orochimaru came again several times. Finding that every day is as lively as before, Orochimaru finally gave up his plan. At least before the spring festival, because the snake is not ready to act. Today is New Year's Eve. It's a family reunion day. In the Uchiha clan land, Sasuke was not particularly happy. Because Fugaku intends to let him accompany Naruto. It's not good to accompany anyone, but to accompany Naruto, that annoying guy. Sasuke didn't curl his lips at the thought. If only Fugaku said that, Sasuke would definitely not listen. But the key is that his mother Makoto also let Sasuke go, but Sasuke had no choice but to agree. As he walked out of the house, the words of his mother Makoto came to Sasuke's mind. Naruto's child is so miserable, he has no parents since he was a child. Back then, Naruto's mother and I were still good friends like sisters. Unfortunately, Naruto's mother left early, and we were also suspected by the village. I have never been able to take good care of Naruto for her. Now, Naruto has helped us Uchiha so much, we must not let him spend the Chinese New Year alone. Unfortunately, that kid Naruto declined my invitation, so I can only ask you, Sasuke. From now on, you will treat Naruto as your brother, understand? What a brother. Naruto is my biggest opponent in this life. Sasuke thought angrily in his heart. Hey, Sasuke, are you going out? The guard at the gate asked in surprise when he saw Sasuke. Are you planning to practice? You really deserve to be the son of the patriarch. He is talented and works so hard. In the future, Sasuke, you will be able to shoulder Uchiha's burden. Sasuke is very happy to be recognized. But being arrogant, he naturally wouldn't show it on the bright side. Sasuke pretended to be modest and said, my strength is not enough, I still need to continue to improve. But I didn't go to practice this time. The guard was suddenly curious. Then where are you going? Thinking of the purpose of leaving, Sasuke's face suddenly became ugly. Father and mother asked me to stay with that guy Naruto. What do you mean Naruto is the benefactor of the family, and he must not be made to feel lonely? If you want me to say, it's because my mother thinks too much. Hearing this, the guard who was still smiling suddenly became serious. Sasuke, you weren't there that night, so I don't know how much Naruto contributed to the family. If it wasn't for Naruto that night, the family would have probably lost a lot. And it is precisely because Naruto spared no effort to teach you all kinds of ninjutsu, and even helped Iron Tree and the others open Sharingan, otherwise. The guard didn't finish his sentence, nor did he mention Itachi's name. After all, Sasuke is Itachi's younger brother. Mentioning what happened that night, Sasuke's face became gloomy. That night, Sasuke went to practice and didn't know what happened until he came back. So, Sasuke didn't even see Itachi for the last time. This made Sasuke very uncomfortable. Although Naruto vaccinated Sasuke, he said that the people around him might be the spies of Konoha's high-ranking officials. He even put forward a hypothesis that Sasuke thought was very nonsense at the time. But judging from the current results, all of Naruto's assumptions have come true. The big brother Sasuke admired since he was a child turned out to be a traitor. The guard didn't say much, just said, in short, since it is the patriarch's order, I hope Sasuke you will do your best. Naruto is the benefactor of our clan. We, the Uchiha family, will avenge any grudge and repay any kindness. Sasuke nodded silently and left the Uchiha clan. Watching Sasuke's leaving back, the guard couldn't help but sigh. It's a poor child, who has experienced such a cruel thing at such a young age. Fortunately, he wasn't there that night, otherwise, would he be able to bear the blade of his own big brother? The guard shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Sasuke walked down the street with a heavy heart. New Year's Eve. There are few people on the street. It was the complete opposite of the scene that was in full swing before. Because of this day, Yinjia will be reunited with their families at home. Naturally, there were no people on the street. Even these few figures are also hurrying towards their respective homes. At this moment, Sasuke looked very abrupt. Because Sasuke didn't go towards his home, but went in a completely opposite direction. Sasuke is holding the lunchbox prepared by his mother, which contains the meals that Makoto told Naruto to eat. Makoto was worried that Naruto was alone at home and no one would cook for him, so he specially prepared a path for Naruto. However, when he walked to the door of Naruto's house, Sasuke was surprised to meet another person who came to the door. Forehead, Shikamaru looked at Sasuke and said, "You're here too." Sasuke looked at the lunchbox in Shikamaru's hand. "Are you also looking for Naruto?" Shikamaru nodded and said, "It should be more than the two of us." Sasuke frowned suddenly. "How do you know? Did you see that?" Sasuke turned his head and looked at Naruto's closed door. Shikamaru shook his head and said, "I didn't see it, it was just crazy." Sasuke frowned. "Guess." Instead of answering directly, Shikamaru asked, "Why did you come here?" Sasuke said, "My parents sent me here." "Do not you?" Shikamaru said. "Then why do you think your parents let you come here? Or, why did your father ask you to come here?" Sasuke was taken aback for a moment, and then thought that things didn't seem so simple. Mother Makoto is a person with a lot of motherhood. Seeing Naruto, who is an orphan, and the child of his mother's former friend, he will definitely feel worried. So the mother asked him to come over. Sasuke could understand. But why his father Fugaku asked him to come, Sasuke didn't think deeply before. At this moment, Shikamaru said so. Sasuke suddenly felt something was wrong. "You mean, my father asked me to come for some other purpose?" Shikamaru nodded. "Of course, don't you feel that Naruto has changed a lot recently? He's changed a lot since he started Jonin school. Especially his strength, and his ability to teach others." Shikamaru pointed at Sasuke, and said while pointing at himself, "You and I are both beneficiaries of Naruto's teachings. If it wasn't for Naruto's teaching, but relying on the things taught by ninja school, do you think we can have this strength at this age?" Sasuke suddenly thought of what the guard said before leaving. If Naruto hadn't taught the iron trees and helped them open their eyes. Although he didn't want to admit it, Sasuke had to admit that he was right. So, the adults are actually trying to please Naruto with us? Sasuke's face became ugly. Shikamaru shook his head and said, "It's hard to hear what you said. And it's not about flattery, it's just about maintaining a good relationship with Naruto. As long as we are Naruto's friends, it's easy to ask Naruto for help in the future. For example, let Naruto teach the younger generation in the clan and so on. I think you, Uchiha, know best how important Naruto's friendship is." Sasuke naturally knew. Shikamaru and the others only saw that Naruto taught Tieshu in them, because Tieshu was a class student with them. But what Shikamaru and the others don't know is that Naruto also taught many children of the same age in the Uchiha tribe. It is precisely because of these people that Itachi's plot was stopped. These, Sasuke knows very well. I understand what you said earlier. Sasuke turned to look at Naruto's door. I don't know how many people are inside now. Shikamaru also turned to look at Naruto's house. It should be all here. People like me who find it troublesome are here. I'm afraid the others have already arrived. Especially those girls, they must have come a long time ago. Okay. Let's stop standing outside and go in quickly. As he spoke, Shikamaru held the lunchbox in his hand and knocked on the door. The door opened quickly. Naruto appeared in front of the two with a hearty smile on his face. Shikamaru smiled and lifted the lunchbox in his hand. My mom asked me to bring it here so you can try it. Sasuke pouted, but also mentioned his lunchbox. Mother specially made it for you. If you dare to leave it, I will never forgive you. Sasuke's tone was not as kind as Shikamaru's. But Naruto didn't care either. Come here. Why do you bring so much food? Everyone has arrived. There are only 2 of you left. Come in quickly. Naruto carried 2 lunchboxes in one hand, and then stepped aside to let the 2 come in. Shikamaru and Sasuke go in to have a look. Man, the house is full. The whole class is probably here. Sasuke also saw Iron Tree and a few of them were there. It must have come with a mission. These guys are already here, why let me come here? Father really is. Sasuke couldn't help complaining in his heart. He still wants to eat at home with his mother. You guys are chatting here now, I'll go to the backyard to prepare. The place is too small, please include if the hospitality is not good enough. I really didn't expect all the students to be so enthusiastic that they all came to my house. I didn't think carefully. Naruto really didn't expect so many people to come. From Naruto's point of view, those family members may come over. Ordinary families should not come here. As a result, nearly 100 people from the entire class came. Now the house of Naruto is not enough. Fortunately, there is a backyard in the back. Set up a few large tables so that everyone can sit down. And eating al fresco is also good, unfortunately. Naruto's wood style is limited to primary. It only increases one's own physical fitness and physical recovery. Can't really fight wood style. Otherwise go straight to a large villa technique. No amount of people can live there. Choji saw Shikamaru and immediately moved over. Shikamaru, you were too slow. I thought you weren't coming. Shikamaru sighed, looked at the room that was exhausted even moving, and said helplessly. If I knew there were so many people, I wouldn't come here. Sasuke didn't say a word at all, and followed Naruto directly to the backyard. Naruto looked back and said with a smile, no need to help, go back and chat with your classmates. Am I trying to help? Don't you see if there is still room for people to stand in your house? No, it's fine for me to get some fresh air outside. Naruto said with a smile. Then you can do whatever you want. Afterwards, Naruto began directing the avatars to prepare meals for hundreds of people in full swing. They are all home-cooked dishes, and they are not difficult to make. Fortunately, Naruto prepared a lot of materials in advance. One is that Naruto realizes that someone will come over on New Year's Eve. The second is to be prepared. Otherwise, Naruto may not make enough dishes for everyone. Especially with Hinata, a real foodie who can support hundreds of people. Soon. It's time for dinner. Everyone filed out and came to the backyard. At this moment, the table is full of exquisite dishes. Everyone sit down. Naruto warmly welcomed the students to sit down, then stood on a simple table, and said to everyone's eyes. Today, everyone gave up the opportunity to reunite with their families and specially came to spend New Year's Eve with me. I am very grateful. This is also the first time I have spent such a lively New Year's Eve, and it is also because of everyone here. I am very happy and honored to be your classmate and grow together with you. Today, since we are together on this special day, it means we are now one family. Come on, raise your glasses. Everyone raised their glasses. Of course, since they are all children, there are some drinks in the cups. Today, I hope everyone can eat, drink and have fun. I will definitely let everyone feel the atmosphere of home. I do it first. As he said that, Naruto directly raised his neck, and drank the drink in the cup in one gulp. Others also drank the cups in their hands one after another. Afterwards, Naruto found a seat and sat down. Everyone immediately started eating lively.